Okay, welcome back to round 4. This is the final round of the Scholars Sanctioned Vintage Tournament at Scholars in Bridgewater. This is TheEndStep's second video coverage of this event, and we're looking forward to doing more of it in the future. Once again, this is Matt Orfanello here with you, here with Eric Dupuis. Eric?
Really happy to be back on this one. This is the final match, really exciting. I'm actually facing Kyle Del Poggio again, and I faced him in the finals last time where he got me. I'd like to take a moment to thank Dave at Scholars for making all of this possible. Dave's been a tireless supporter of Vintage from before it was even called Vintage. His store is literally the site of my first Vintage tournament.
Type 1.
Yes, back when it was Type 1, and he has done a tremendous amount for the community, and it's a real joy to be able to work with him to try and bring Vintage back in New England, and this was a really big step toward that. 15 people sanctioning unpowered decks. This is everything you could hope for in this type of tournament, so I consider it a huge success.
All right, so moving into the coverage, we already kind of went over Eric's deck list. It's a Grixis control list with Time Vault Key and Tinker for Blightsteel, Jace the Mind Sculptor, plenty of counter backup, and lots of interaction. Kyle is playing very similar, if not exactly the same list to what he played at the last Vintage event. Sort of like a bug control list. He's got some main deck concessions to artifact removal in Trigon Predator. Good in a lot of matchups. Do you want to talk about his sideboard a little bit?
Yeah, the sideboard looks like it's mostly towards Shops and Dredge, which is a reasonable plan for a deck like his. He's got Nature's Claims, Hurkyl's Recalls versus Dredge, versus Shops, and then versus Dredge, he has Nile Spellbomb and Yixlid Jailer. 3 each on all of those. He has 2 Pithing Needles, which he can split. He can use for both of those matchups. It's also reasonable versus the Planeswalker decks. He can also bring it in versus the blue decks because he does not run Time Vault Key or Tinker Blightsteel. He's on a completely different plan, and that plan is to beat down with creatures. So Snapcaster, Dark Confidant, Trigon Predator, Scavenging Ooze, and Deathrite are actually going to be the things to try and end the game. So I'm opening up here with a Sensei's Top, looking to get some card quality, and it is
contested with Mental Misstep.
now, Misstep is a really valuable card in this matchup. I've got a lot of 1 casting cost spells.
We're going to force it. Pitching the Hurkyl's Recall.
Hurkyl's is completely dead.
Right.
I'd rather hold the Force if I could, but that top is really
force him
important.
Back, pitching a Flusterstorm. So already a big fight going on right out of the gates. Looks like 1, 2, 3, using 4 cards on your first turn. So he plays a, what is that, a fetch land?
So I follow up the top with a Dark Confidant. It would have been nice to have the top in play with a Dark Confidant. I could end up taking a lot of damage here. It's definitely possible in my list. Blightsteel Colossus floating around, Force of Will costs 5. Even flipping a Jace, can do a significant amount of damage. The good thing there is he can make sure you don't take any more damage for the rest of the game if he resolves.
Looks like he matches your Confidant with his own Confidant, and he's threatening to blow up your Underground Sea next turn with his Wasteland.
I'm probably fine with that. Having a Confidant out, effects like Wasteland become a lot less important because you're typically going to draw out of your mana problems.
Right.
So revealing
getting a Thoughtseize, that probably brings you down to 2 fetches and a Force, so that's 16. If this resolves, it'll bring you to 14. Kyle has the 1 fetch land and the 1 Force of Will and a Mental Misstep, so he should be at 16. So he's allowing you to choose between Mental Misstep and Flusterstorm. And you leave him with the Mental Misstep.
It's 2 fetches and a Force.
All right, so Eric's at 15 here because of the 2 fetches and the Force.
Library as bait, trying to pull him off of the black.
And he has double Wasteland. Floating a mana. Potentially going to run a Snapcaster out. Yep.
Just trying to not
Snapcaster.
get too far behind on board here. This game took a real turn for the worse, and I just want to make sure I don't
Taking
get
2
overwhelmed.
damage down to 13. Get in for 2 with a Snapcaster. You have no problem trading that with a Dark Confidant. He reveals a Bayou. Must be nice. Free cards. So Kyle has, what is that, 3 or 4 cards in his hand. And he's running out Scavenging Ooze. Foil Scavenging Ooze.
That's from the new booster packs from the Steam promo, I believe, or iPad, more likely.
Oh, right.
So yeah, those are available right now from Duels of the Planeswalkers. Good
Very,
value.
very nice tech. Huge value.
Yeah, he actually got that off of me earlier in the tournament.
Nice. Revealing a Snapcaster of his own, taking 2 more life.
So we're
Playing
kind
the
of
Tropical Island.
jostling for position here, both in the teens in terms of our life total. Lightning
If you can
bolt
get a
will become
red
big.
source here, that could definitely start to change the game, swing the tide in your favor. No attacks here. He's got some Scavenging Ooze activation on your end step, taking your Thoughtseize just for value. Surprised you didn't take more.
I think he was holding up Snapcaster.
Oh, right.
I think that's what's going on
Snapcaster with Mental Misstep.
Yeah, that was the read I got, and that's why I played the game the way I did. It looked to me like he had Snapcaster for Mental Misstep at any time, and was going to try and create a situation where he potentially walked away from that, or at least I wouldn't get wrecked by it.
Right. So you got your own Snapcaster on his end step, just building up an army here. Mystical Tutor.
Now, a big problem with this board state is if I swing into him, he can trade the Snapcaster in his hand for
a Snapcaster on the
in play,
table, and then he'll start to be able to boost it with Ooze.
Exactly.
Without
Ooze.
any creatures in the graveyard, you have a real shot at killing his Ooze if only he didn't have that Mental Misstep that he revealed. And he also has Snapcaster, and he knows you have the Lightning Bolt because you revealed it off of a Dark Confidant. So this is actually a pretty precarious situation going on. He gets his own fetch land.
Yeah, his Confidant has been very gentle with him this game. Deathrite Shaman complicating things a little bit more.
Yeah, because now that we're not attacking, he can still be having you lose 2 life basically every turn. Lightning Bolts, not going to resolve.
Oh, and he missteps out of his hand.
Yep. Probably should have got more miles out of his Snapcaster. You've told me this before, and I think it rings true here. Snapcasters that sit in your hand all game are not good Snapcasters.
Yeah, an extra Snapcaster on board would have been much more of a concern.
Maybe he's keeping mana up for graveyard disruption.
Could be. It could be. Mystical Tutor here.
Maybe for Ancestral.
I think.
Well, you know he has the Snapcaster, so that's not actually... Maybe a Time Walk.
I think I was trying to get him to Snapcaster and
The
then
Misstep.
Misstep
Oh,
there.
so you do get the Ancestrals, so now you have to get counter backup in order for that to resolve.
Yeah, that looks like a weak play to me. From here, it looks like I should have grabbed Tinker.
Yeah, Tinker would have been very strong knowing that he has Snapcaster in hand.
I can't imagine it was the 3 damage that was the real concern. Though if my life total is low enough, that might have been it. I might have been concerned
Maybe you're
about...
baiting with the Ancestral and you're going to end up Lightning Bolts. Something important.
So the Ancestral's getting thrown out there. Kyle's fetching, looking to Snapcaster, misstep most likely. Changing his mind on the land.
Get something green so that we can get full value out of the Scavenging Ooze. And he's allowing it to resolve, which is very interesting considering he has Snapcaster for Mental Misstep. That seems like the type of thing you want to counter. So this is actually a very interesting game right now.
There's a lot going on. It does not look like your typical game of Vintage. There's a lot of wizards on the board and threatening combat damage. Now here, the question is, do I run out Snapcaster to try an Ancestral? He does have the Scavenging Ooze, so it's a little bit of a game of chicken here. I think ultimately I decide to just run it out there and see if he remembers his ability to disrupt me.
Yeah, well, with him missing out on a Snapcaster for Mental Misstep, it's sort of like an opportunity to maybe see how much more you can get out of it.
So I've got a activation or a trigger,
Yeah, and he's gonna eat the.
and he's gonna eat it.
And that taps out his last green source, which now allows you to Lightning Bolt the Scavenging Ooze, which I think was your plan the whole time. I think you originally planned on having the. That's interesting. You originally planned on having the Ancestral get countered because you had Snapcaster in hand, and then you were going to Lightning Bolt the Ooze so that you're. What did you Lightning Bolt?
I ended up lightning bolting his face there because he's very low on life. Very low on life. There's no creatures in the graveyard, and Confidant could definitely end the game on his side of the table. There was a lot going on there. So I Snapcaster targeting Lightning Bolt. Then he at the Lightning Bolt. The other options for the bolts may have been better. Get rid of the Scavenging Ooze. Get rid of the Deathrite Shaman. Deathrite will kill me eventually.
Right.
It looks like Scavenging Ooze would have been a better target from here.
That's 4 damage right
And
there.
that's the game.
4 damage and then an activation for the 2 life. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was tough. I was definitely thinking about lightning bolting the Deathrite Shaman. That was an option.
Yeah.
If I do that, then
His
the
ooze starts to
Scavenging
grow.
Ooze starts to grow. So that was a concern. Probably an error.
Yeah. Hindsight's 20/20. Is that the Wormwood Games deck box? I
That
see
is-
right there. This is a very nice deck box, by the way.
Kyle is very proud of that. Always nice when something like that represents a tournament win as well.
Mm-hmm.
Have it at home, you can check out the. It's pretty sweet.
So taking a look at the sideboards here, Kyle doesn't really have much for me.
No, you have the 2 additional Lightning Bolts.
That's huge in this matchup. It really is very strong.
Maybe a Nile Spellbomb.
Spellbomb's a possibility. The other possibility is the Surgical Extraction. That card can do a lot of work with Snapcaster.
Right. And as far as dead cards go, I think Hurkyl's Recall probably comes out. I mean, it's not totally dead, but I think you could be doing better things.
Yeah, it's pretty close to dead in my list because I don't have any kind of Storm card, even though I typically love to run them. Hurkyl's is really just a defensive measure against other artifacts.
Do you ever take out like Mystical Tutor in this kind of matchup where it's very card advantage oriented, or do you think the trade-off for the power you search for is a good enough trade
Depends
for the
on the
card
player.
disadvantage? Yeah.
It really does. It's the type of card where you've got to weigh the risks and the rewards and really be honest about it, because your risks involve going down in cards, the Mystical Tutor getting countered, the card you go getting countered, the possibility for cards like Surgical Extraction. Like, there's a lot of different problems with the card, and the reward really has to outweigh that. In this matchup, getting Blightsteel is really, really good.
Yes.
Blightsteel is, I mean, he's almost
So you
certainly dead to it.
want to keep in a lot of ways to find it. How good is Flusterstorm in this matchup for you? I mean, your opponent is relying on creatures to win the game, so really Flusterstorm is just going to help you win counter wars. How relevant do you think that is as far as having that instead of 2 lightning bolts.
I mean, I'd rather have a lightning bolt than a Flusterstorm in this matchup.
Right.
The cards that I'm most concerned about are going to be Dark Confidant running away with the game, possibly a Jace sticking, and that can easily get rid of that.
Deathrite Shaman.
Deathrite Shaman really messing with the Yawgmoth's will. So I definitely want 4 lightning bolts or 4 swords to plowshares when I'm facing a deck like this. They're trying to win with creature beats, so you're going to want some efficient removal, and you're going to want to have it cheap enough that you can use your Snapcaster Mage to get the extra mileage out of it.
Right. So it looks like Kyle would probably bring in potentially his Nature's Claims, because you do have the combo kill with Time Vault Key. Maybe Hurkyl's Recall because he knows you're on Blightsteel Colossus, and that also deals with Time Vault Key for a turn.
Not always, though, because if I have the artifacts, I can, like the Moxes, I can actually just replay them.
Yeah.
It is not as safe as it seems.
So maybe Nature's Claim is probably, and I don't even think he brings in all 3. Maybe like 1 or 2, just some upgrades. What would he upgrade here? Abrupt Decay seems really good.
Yes.
Maybe he takes out his own Flusterstorms. Steel Sabotage, perhaps, but that's still decent against you.
Sabotage is a much better card than Hurkyl's Recall against me.
Yeah.
It can counter the card, it can bounce things in response. You know, even bouncing a Time Vault in response to the Voltaic Key activation, that does break it up. But if you let me pick them both up, there is that chance that I'm going to have enough mana. It's not a lot. It's only 4.
Yeah.
Cast 2 for Time Vault, 1 for Key, 1 to activate. There's a lot of games where you have that much mana kicking around.
So we just kind of spoke through some pretty explosive early plays. You were on the play, and you started with an Ancestral Recall, which was met by his Force of Will. He untaps, plays a Tropical Island, and plays Ancestral Recall of his own, which you Mental Misstep, and he Mental Missteps your Mental Misstep. So pretty explosive. And then you follow up with a turn 2 Dark Confidant. He's got a turn 2 Deathrite Shaman, and now we're pretty much caught up to the gameplay.
Yeah, there were some fireworks early. With my list, I really like to get Ancestral in the graveyard early, hopefully resolving it. But however it gets in there.
Just took 5 off of Dark Confidant with that Force Will. So you've got Mental Misstep, Fetch Land, so that's 3 plus 5 is 8. So you're already down to 12 life. Your opponent forced and misstepped, so he's, I think, at 17. I don't think he's fetched yet. So you have Snapcaster for Ancestral before his before his
Deathrite even gets online. Yes.
Yeah, removed. Yeah. So, and a Lightning Bolt.
And he is out of there, and that's why Bolt is so good in this matchup.
Now you're clearly ahead in this game. You've got plenty of damage on the board. You're representing an extra card every turn. You've broken the parity. He's just in a real bad position. He needs to do a lot of things on his next turn to deal with what you've put on the table.
Yeah, that Lightning Bolt being in the graveyard opens things up for Snapcasters as well. You really want to get those out there in this matchup and either be holding off his guys from attacking or actually actively decreasing his life total. And if I have the opportunity, tinker for Blightsteel or assemble Vault Key. But at this point, you can just hang out. I mean, he's got a
flyer. It's got a big butt, so you can't swing into it. You revealed the Volcanic Island off of Dark Confidant, so not taking damage right there. Oh, Snapcast for Lightning Bolts is pretty big. Yeah, getting in for 4. So you got in for 2 last turn and 4 this turn, so that's 6 minus 17 plus a fetch land. So he's at 10, and you're at 12. And you have clearly got the board advantage. He plays the Dark Confidant now.
Yeah, at this point, I'd be happy to trade with that. I'm so far ahead.
You've already got plenty of card advantage.
If we trade Confidants, that's fine. And if I swing for 6 and he eats it, then he's down to 4. A lot of cards in his deck will kill him if he flips them.
Mm-hmm. Brainstorm, now that's a nice card to reveal. Was that a FNM foil Brainstorm?
No, that would be a water-damaged regular Mercadian Masks one.
Oh, okay.
Yes, no, my cards are not nearly as fancy. I tend to save those for people like you. So we're getting in there for 6.
Trading Confidants.
He's down to 6. At this point, the Lotus.
Black Lotus.
I mean, mystical. So I can mystical for whatever I want.
Mystical for
Brainstorm
Tinker,
for it.
Brainstorm.
Time Vault. I'm sorry.
Time Walk.
would be an option.
Oh, getting the Yogg-Will to go real big.
Yeah, Yogg-Will's probably better. Oh, Yogg-Will's clearly better because I'd be able to Brainstorm and mystical again post Yogg-Will or after casting the Yogg-Will.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much game there. This should put him away no matter what I go for, unless I make a serious blunder. Plenty of mana.
Lightning
or
bolt
just
to the
bolt him
face.
for a game. Before the Yawgmoth's Will, he's at 6, 3 to the face.
Yep.
Yawgmoth's Will, bolt him again.
Right.
Yeah, that is not usually how Yawgmoth's Will kills someone, but it's certainly clean.
There's no wrong way to eat a Reese's.
As long as it gets the job done.
Yeah. So going on to game 3, Kyle will be on the play. And like you mentioned earlier in the blue matchups, being on the draw is not necessarily bad for you because getting that extra card kind of makes up for the loss of tempo in a game where you're not necessarily going to lose on turn 1 or 2.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely games where they kill you on turn 1 or 2, but I don't think Kyle's list is really capable of that. So
No.
I'm not really complaining about being on the draw. Yeah, the Trigon Predators don't do a ton of work against me. He needs to leave in the Scavenging Ooze most likely to disrupt my graveyard, but it's really not that amazing. I mean, there's a lot of cards in here which are somewhat underwhelming versus my plans of attack. And a lot of his plan of turning guys sideways is thwarted by my Snapcasters, and on my end of the board, they're really just there for utility. It's not like I have to attack him to death. I'm happy to assemble Vault Key or Tinker Blightsteel. So if a Snapcaster trades with the Dark Confidant, I am fine with that.
It's just like a regrowth with a body.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really strong in that regard. Yeah, as far as cards that come out against them, Hercules is definitely going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Mana drains are pretty good depending on how the person plays. Sometimes they'd come out if they're hyper aggressive. It may not be the type of card you want. I really don't want to make that much of a change. The deck is designed to do what it does, and you don't want to tinker with it too much.
The addition of the 2 lightning bolts is probably enough to put you over the top.
Yeah, that's really all I want to be bringing in for the most part. Unless my opponent has some tendencies that would really open them up to getting blown out by a particular sideboard card. But his list really doesn't seem to have that many openings. The Life from the Loam.
Could get Surgical Extraction or Tormod's Cryptid, but...
Yeah, I mean, Spellbomb could be a card against that.
It's still a little narrow.
It really is. If I was really worried about losing a game by getting waste-locked out, that could be an option, though. But at that point, Pithing Needle's probably the better card anyways. Even though they have the Abrupt Decay, it still has the added benefit of potentially stopping your Deathrite Shamans. So we have turn 1
buy you into a Deathrite. Very strong turn 1 play. Black Lotus.
Maybe
turn
a
1
stronger
Jace.
play.
Let's do it.
Let's see what I can do with this. Merchant Scroll.
3 blue mana, so
Grabbing
Merchant Scroll into
yeah.
Ancestral. That makes up for the, you use 3 cards to draw 3 cards. Seems fine.
And the Merchant Scroll replaces itself, so.
All right, so so you end up netting a card advantage, 1 card advantage on this interaction here. Let's see if he has any sort of response. Looks like it's going uncontested. So you're able to get board position. You're going to run out of Bob here. A very, very strong start. Strong start indeed.
It's good because it really puts him in a spot where he needs to
make reactive plays now instead of proactive.
And I've got the Dark Confidant on board, so getting rid of that Ancestral out of the graveyard could be beneficial. Oh, we've got 2 mana.
He needs to use the land.
Abrupt Decay.
Yeah. Can't counter that.
Yeah, my list isn't running Divert or Misdirection, so Abrupt Decay is going to get the job done most of the time, unless I can somehow
Another Dark
bounce the permanent
Confidant.
in response.
Another Wasteland. See if you can actually draw some cards off this Dark Confidant. Yep.
There's an
I
error.
forgot to reveal.
Dark Confidants.
Yep.
And draw. I would trade here. It would be devastating to his board.
No, yeah, and you already got one card off of it, so it's better than nothing.
Yeah, and I've got the other Confidant.
And he realizes that he can't really afford that trade right now. He's gonna have to.
I've got the option of playing the second Confidant, and I go for it.
Yeah.
Greed is good.
Yep. End up taking 2, bringing it down to about 18. No, 16 because you revealed Dark Confidant. Kyle should still be at 20. Oh no, you swung in for 2, so he's at 18. Revealing a Lightning Bolt down to 17. Revealing a Time Vault down to 15. And drawing a card for the turn. So if you play a red source, you can, yeah, there's your fetch land. Get in for 4. Surprised he doesn't block there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm offering the trade. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Maybe he thinks he has a better chance of winning if you have 2 Bob activations a turn. It's quite a bit of damage. You're already down to, what is it, 15 life?
And then the 2 off of the death right end of turn there.
Yep. So 13 life. That's just a Blightsteel and a Brainstorm away.
Well, after
Down
the
to
fetch,
12.
yeah, the Blightsteel would do it. I think I actually might have him in my hand here. I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's definitely a consideration when you're in a spot like this. It's
Yeah.
potentially worth having a dead card just to make sure that you don't just die.
Now I'm surprised that you allow him to untap with Deathrite. Oh, it's because you're not even concerned. So you're gonna thirst for knowledge, just doing bigger and better things. Brainstorm in response. He has a Bayou open and a Deathrite, which can make colored mana. So you could potentially respond with a Spell Pierce or Flusterstorm. But it looks like it's going to resolve.
Yeah, this is a bit of a decision here. At this point, I needed to decide, am I going to assemble Vault Key and try and lock up the game that way, or am I just going to win through Wizard Beats? The thought process was, either way, I'm going to have to race my own Dark Confidants. So I wanted more cards that would help me do that. So I'm actually going to end up discarding Time Vault here. I could have potentially assembled Vault Key in a pretty reasonably easy way, but Dark Confidant's really the whole game state right now. Either he's going to kill my opponent, or I'm going to die to my
You do have
flips.
the Bolt in your hand, so you can use it on your own Confidant. I mean, Deathrite Shaman's still going to be punching you for 2. Definitely some...
Yeah, a lot of different lines of play, a lot of possibilities. And the Time Vault is going to go. That is probably the nicest card in my deck. That is a
Beta Time
Beta
Vault.
Time Vault.
Yeah, it is really nice.
It's the most played one I have. Like right now, there's like 4 unlimited ones that are absolutely perfect in my trade binder.
Yeah. Not really going to damage it further.
Yeah, I try not to riffle shuffle in tournaments like these, but every once in a while I just completely forget that I'm playing with real power, and it's not 2003.
Yeah.
So we've got a Brainstorm. I'm going to hard cast the Mental Misstep, preserving
Right.
my life.
Well, the whole point of the Brainstorm is to preserve your life total here.
Yes.
So Kyle's at 12 and you're at 12. He exiles your Underground Sea and he mental missteps your Brainstorm. So he goes down to 10. And you
I'll
mental
misstep
misstep going down to 10. Well, my dad can beat up your dad.
And we've got a force pitching force.
Wow.
Kyle is really all in on that plan at this point.
Yep. How many cards does he have in his hand? 1.
And I've got no damage off of that.
Nice. He does have the Snapcaster to trade one of your confidence. I'm sure you'd be fine losing a confident here. Now that you're sort of in the danger zone as far as life totals go. He's at 9. If you can get in for 4, that's going to bring him down to 5.
I still have the lightning bolt. The fetch land.
Yeah. Bringing you down to 9. You're going to bolt the death right because that's the card that could really just steal the game from you at this point. So now you have to not die to your double flip. He's attacking, putting you in position to die. I think you're going down to...
I think I'm at 8 here.
8? Either 8 or 7 because of the flooded strand.
Yeah, that is correct. I'd be at 7 after that fetch land.
So you do have, you could reveal Jace Tinker. Oh, but you do have the brainstorm, flashing back a brainstorm, making sure.
Definitely not going to die off of my confidants here and have...
Oh, and you
lethal
drew a
on
lightning
board.
bolt. So you just put back your island and your Mox Emeralds.
Swing with the team and bolt to the face, barring any kind of...
Oh, island and mountain. Oh, you boarded in the mountain. Because he plays Wasteland, it makes sense.
Yeah, the last time that we played, he got me, I believe both games that I lost, mana issues were a real concern. So hedging against that's probably wise.
Yep. So now you get to swing for 4. I think you're debating whether or not to play a land here.
Yeah, at this point, he has to have something pretty special to get out of this. Maybe trying to figure out if I've played a land. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. We were trying to figure out if I had played a land and then decided to bolt.
Yeah.
And see if it was going to be an issue.
Right.
Before figuring it out.
So yeah. And that's the match. Eric won. Congratulations, Eric.
Thank you. It was a really fun tournament.
Yep.
Enjoyed it, every moment of it.
We definitely want to thank everyone who played. It really makes a huge difference having people take time out of their work week and come down to play some Sanctioned Vintage. We really appreciate all the feedback we've been getting. It's been very positive so far. If you have any suggestions on how we could improve this further, anything you'd like to see in the future, please don't be afraid to leave comments in the feedback section. Is there anything else you'd like to cover?
Well, we have the next one planned. It's going to be August 12th, and I look forward to seeing you all there.
All right. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate doing commentary with you, and thanks everybody for watching us at the End Step.
Thanks for having me.